When I Was Young, a story about family history, written by James Dunbar and Martin Renfrey. Josh likes to visit his grandma Jenny. The flat that she lives in is full of memories. Josh was looking at the old photos and he asked, "Grandma, what was it like when you were young?" Grandma Jenny chuckled and then settled down on the sofa with Josh on her lap to tell him the story of their family history. When I was young, which was about 50 years ago, we moved into a brand new house that had just been built. I remember we got our very first TV. We never had one of those before. I lived there with my mum, my dad, and my elder sister. We had a kitchen, an electric cooker, and even a fridge. My grandpa Ben used to visit us at the weekends. And on Saturdays, my elder sister would dress up and go out dancing. She had so much fun. Grandma Jenny continued, "You know, Josh, I remember asking my grandpa what it was like when he was young. Grandpa Ben would sit me on his knee and say, 'When I was young, which was 100 years ago, my mum and dad worked in a big hotel. My dad used to polish the carriages that would take people to their destinations. Sometimes he would let me feed the horses. I saw a car in the street for the very first time when I was a young boy. I even remember the first time we ever had our photo taken. Mum said we had to wear our very best clothes. This is me in my sailor suit. My mum, my dad, my brother Ted, my sister May, Grandpa Jim and Grandma Emily, all of us together in one lovely, special black and white photo. I remember asking my grandma what it was like when she was young. She would sit me on her knee and say, 'When I was young, which was about 150 years ago, not many children used to go to school. I remember playing in the street with the other children. We would play skipping ropes and marbles and help with the housework and chores. At night, we used to get scrubbed up in the bathtub in the kitchen. We had to use candles for lighting. We lived in a busy town, so my grandpa would take me to the docks. We would watch the big ships come and go from all around the world. I used to ask my grandpa what it was like when he was young. My grandpa would sit me on his knee and say, 'When I was young, which was about 200 years ago, I lived in the countryside. My dad and my grandpa worked on a farm. At harvest time, everybody helped, even my grandma Polly. 2 days every week, the boys would go to the village school. But the teachers were very strict, and if you didn't do your work properly, they would send you to stand in the corner. In the past, only girls from the very wealthiest families were allowed to go and get an education. But even then, they had to go somewhere different to the boys. All of the other girls would have to go to work. But everybody was allowed to go to the fair. There would be games and dancing and market stalls to buy lots of treats from." Josh smiled. He loved to listen to Grandma Jenny's stories about the past. The people around us really can teach everyone so much about history. Before Josh was Grandma Jenny. Before her was Great-Grandpa Ben. Before him was Great-Great-Grandma Emily and many more before. They are all a part of a family. They are all a part of history.